video. It's nice to have the encouragement to do this. So I thought what I'd do is to show you a few bits that I have recently acquired. Maybe do some tapping again, and I've got a book to show you also. Potentially do some reading of that, just so you can zone out and listen to me reading from a book. Use it for studying or just relaxing or whatever it is that you want to do while listening to my ramblings. So the first thing I've got for you today is a coaster. So this is the coaster here, and obviously it says Condor calls for tea, which is a lot of fun because obviously it's a play on the line from the film Condor calls for aid, and obviously for aid in Rohan shall answer, and it's all good. So I bought this off of Etsy, and it was pretty cheap. It was quite good, but it feels, quality is like, I feel like it's kind of like a slate material. Quite a nice feel to it. It's quite weighty as well. So I can use this in the office when I'm either working or gaming or whatever it is I'm doing. So obviously being British, significant amount of tea is consumed. You saw in my last video I was talking about a company called Wittards. They're really good. So my Wittards bug can go onto this, which would be quite nice. So I'm recording this next weekend. The cinemas are releasing the extended 4K editions of The Lord of the Rings. Some of them are offering, individual screenings of The Fellowship, The Two Towers, Return of the King. Others are doing a showing for the more hardcore people amongst the population and fandom, and they're offering back-to-back screenings with, I think, maybe like half an hour in between each film to stretch your legs and grab extra snacks. So that's my plans for next weekend. Sorted. I never saw the Fellowship of the Ring in cinemas when it came out. I'll give my age away here. I got given it by my grandparents on VHS many moons ago when VHS was still a thing. And then I got taken by my dad to see The Two Towers when that was released in the cinema. That was the first Lord of the Rings that I saw in the cinema. My dad did not have a good time. He described it as 2.5 hours of people just galloping around, looking for other people, talking to other people, then getting those people and galloping to look for other people. I think he enjoyed the Battle of Helm's Deep at the end, but I don't think, well, he didn't take me to see Return of the King, let's put it that way. I had to go with a friend to see that one. But yeah, huge fan of Lord of the Rings. Rings of Power, the second seasons are coming out this year. I think, I want to say it's August, I might be wrong. I know the Rings of Power gets quite a lot of stick in sort of the world and fandom of Tolkien, which, you know, I understand to a certain degree. You know, fans of fantasy settings tend to get quite defensive around sort of, you know, the lore of their worlds, and obviously the world of Tolkien is no different. But I think it's just nice to have new and extra Lord of the Rings media videos. Obviously we've got War of the Rohirrim coming out towards the end of the year. I think that's due in December. So again, it's nice to have to be able to have a dive into Middle Earth. It's rumoured, well, it's not rumoured, there's been screenshots that there's Tom Bombadil is going to be there, be featuring Rings of Power. So, you know, I'm excited to see where that goes. And I kind of just treat the Rings of Power for what it is, an adaptation and a variation on a theme of Tolkien's Middle Earth. I don't think that it's worth comparing it to Peter Jackson's films in any way, shape or form. I don't think that's fair. I think they have tried to do something different with it. And for the most part, I thought it was good. Like, visually it was stunning. The visuals were great. The dialogue sometimes left a little bit to be desired. But I think on the whole, it wasn't as bad as people are making out. As I say, people do get a little bit protective over those sorts of things. As I say, I didn't mind it. It didn't pull me back in, you know, to watch it a second, a third, or fourth time, like the Peter Jackson films did. You know, they pulled me in, and I've watched them hundreds of times, literally hundreds of times. That's not even an exaggeration. So yeah, that was you know, a little ramble on Lord of the Rings, Tolkien, and obviously the sort of slate, as it were, coaster. So that was that. So what else do we have? Obviously, I think I explained in my last video, I'm renovating my office space. I'm turning it into like a spare room. It's kind of just had all my rubbish in it really since moving in. So I've decided to turn it into like an office space. I'm now in that office space. As you can see over that shoulder, there's no doors on my wardrobe because I'm going to be replacing them. So excuse the eyesore that is that. I thought it would look a bit strange if I just sort of had my arm up the entire video. It's probably not brilliant. I don't know how the lighting's working out either. Obviously I've got the main light there. That's as bright as it gets. That's as bright as it gets. I didn't realise it was that dull until I turned it on. So I kind of have an iPad in front of me here, with just like a white screen torch type app straight at me, and I've got a torch over that side and over that side, sort of shining up the way, like up into the ceiling. So hopefully, I mean, it looks okay when I'm looking at it on on the camera now. But if it's enough, then let me know and I will try to sort something out. A really loud motorbike just went past, so I just paused it there. So yeah, I'm now at the back of the flat, and it's not late, but it's 5 to 11 at night here now, and there are no dogs barking yet. Give it time. I'm sure there will be one. And there are no children running around. You know, I know this is Saturday night, but it's the end of the half-term week. The end of the half-term week here in the UK. So I think a lot of people are either travelling back from holidays or time away. So the weekend before children go back to school and the parents go back to work is this week. So I think that people are having a bit more of a quiet and relaxed weekend before the chaos of the Monday morning school rush goes ahead. So the next thing, as I was saying, so I was clearing my room out, I found all manner of things, and I found a ring box which I thought might make some fantastic tapping sounds, so we'll try that. So the top bit there is almost sort of padded, so this is like a bit more solid on the bottom. It gives a bit of a richer sound. Notice how there's zero consistency in the tapping. I would never have made it as a drummer. I would never have made it as a drummer. I'm not musically inclined. I enjoy music. I love music. But my problem is, if I don't pick up an instrument and I'm immediately amazing at it, I lose interest. So I always wanted to play. When I was younger, I started to learn guitar. But because I wasn't immediately as good as Slash when I picked it up, I gave up. Is that a toxic trait? I feel like it might be. Sorry if I keep hitting the microphone as well. I'm trying not to. I wonder if that sounds like we hit it from both sides at the same time. Did it again. triggers that you particularly like to see, stick them down in the comments, and I will do my best to try and accommodate that. Okay, so I'm now going to talk a little bit about a subject I know worryingly little about, considering I'm about to talk about it on the internet. I really enjoy watching the ASMR Nerd. I love all of his videos, but specifically I really like his mechanical keyboard videos. So when I knew I was getting a new desk, I knew that I needed to get involved in these mechanical keyboards. So not knowing anything about what I was buying, I embarked upon a mission of trying to watch all of ASMR Nerd's videos on mechanical keyboards, and basically just listened to see which ones I liked the most. So I found a video. I thought it sounded amazing. I clicked on the links in the bottom of his video, and unfortunately, because he made those videos so long ago, a lot of the products that he was talking about were either sold out or eclipsed. So, based on absolutely nothing at all, I purchased a GMMK bare bones. I think it's an 80%. You can correct me, it's fine. I know I told you the caveat was I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I think it's called a 10 keyless. So I think it's like an 80% keyboard, and it was bare bones, so I had to buy the switches and keycaps. So I'll show you the keyboard first. So this is the keyboard. This is it here. I won't plug it in or anything. My desk already looks like it's a snake's wedding, so I'm not going to do that. But it feels like a metal case. It doesn't have any real flex to it or anything. Don't want to click it too much. The keycaps are white pudding keycaps. I think they look really cool, and when you've got sort of the full RGB effect on it, sort of the bits, the white, those sort of semi-opaque bits at the bottom really allow those RGB lights to come through, and it looks pretty cool. I've currently got it set up so that every time I touch a key, when you hit the key, the lights sort of ripple out from that area. And I'm a real simple guy. It lights up. I like it. So hours of fun just pressing buttons. I don't even have to be typing anything. So that's the keyboard that I got. The switches I used, I was able to get hold of from his video. So they are switch kit box white switches. So this is these are them. I don't know if you can. I don't know if that's going to focus. I'll try and get that to focus. So what these do is they click on the way down and they click on the way back up. So that's it clicked on the way down. Now when I release it, it clicks again. It's quite a loud keyboard. It was louder than I was anticipating, but I think that it sounds real good. So I've still got some switches left over. I only broke one. In my eagerness, I bent one of the little pins. I don't know if you can see those on my black t-shirt. There you go. You can see those like little metal pins. I was too eager and I bent one. But luckily I've got a few left, so it didn't really matter. But hopefully this isn't too harsh. sounds that these make. I think they're so nice. Nice clicky sounds, but so on the keyboard I didn't really want it to, I didn't want the keys to bottom out too much, so I also bought a ton of little silicone and elastic bands, which are basically, you put them on the bottom of the keycaps, and then when they sit on the switch, they don't make as aggressive bottoming out sound, so it doesn't hit the bottom of the keyboard, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just think it makes such a nice, really nice tapping sound. Let's see if I can centralise it a bit more, because it was off to one side at the minute. So if I hold it like this, that's the end tap. So I didn't get it wireless, so it's a wired keyboard. Yeah, so USB Type-C connection, which is fine. I didn't, as I say, I didn't even think about wanting to go wireless with it. I don't have too many wires, it's not too bad. Because luckily I use a laptop, because I'm on the move quite a bit. I'd like to have a desktop as well, but it's just not really practical because I'm away more than I am at home. So for ease of use, I have an MSI Raider. I think it's like a G78. I bought it last September, and it's fairly modern, so it has USB-C connection to my monitor when I'm in the office, and I can draw power from that cable to my laptop as well, so I charge it. So I don't have to have the charging cable, I don't have to have a HDMI, I can literally have one USB-C cable, which obviously I just leave in the back of the monitor. And then when I need to use the laptop, I can just plug it straight in. So it's really handy, really convenient, really easy to do. So yeah, that was the keyboard. Maybe soon I will turn it on and show you the sort of RGB once I've got more of a hands-on, more of a grip, more of a hold on my setup here. I think that would be good. So yeah, as I explained, I bought a load of silicone O-rings which came in this bag here. You can see them there, look, these are the O-rings there, which aren't going to make very good sounds to be fair, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try clicking that keycap and spidge remover with a little bonus of a bit of a crinkly rustling in the bag type scenario. Let's see. I'll make a meal of it so, it lasts a little bit longer. It's all I don't know if you can see that, but they've all sort of congregated on the bottom there. There we go, they've all dropped off. Apart from two, there's two stragglers. There we go, last one. We got them. We got them off. So, for those of you that don't know, and I didn't until a week ago, this little fella here, this chap, is apparently you can use it for keycaps. I've only ever seen people use like wire ones, like with big long wires, and you can sort of grip it either side, and then you can pull it off. But apparently you can use it for keycaps. But this, I've used this for taking off the switches to replace them, because it's quite handy to just flip on the side there, and then you press the key, and then you can flick it, pull it up without damaging. Without damaging anything. But I thought this might be quite nice and bad, is it? Quite good, quite nice. Hopefully you can hear that. Hope you can hear that. There's quite a few cars with exhausts that don't belong on them riding around tonight. You know, the usual, like, Renault Clios or, God forbid, a Vauxhall Nova with souped up exhaust. Just raced around, and obviously because it's late, what they do is they'll just rank it up and down, 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 cause a nuisance all night. And people will just complain on Facebook, and that wasn't good. I'll complain on Facebook, and the next morning, yeah, I had that, and yeah, but I hope this is audible, I hope this is good. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Sticking with the laptop theme, I had an issue with an issue. And when I say issue, I was a victim of my own ignorance and not knowing what I'm doing. My space bar sometimes gets stuck. So when I press it down, it gets locked down. It doesn't bring back up. If I hit it hard, it will come back up. But if I do it just a gentle tap, it will stay down. See, I don't know if you can hear that. There's only one click. It doesn't click again. Listen. Right, so that's it's back up. So we press it down gently. Just one click. Not what we want. So then I have to physically pull it back up. Not good. So I jumped back on to YouTube and the internet to see what I could do to rectify these issues. And I didn't know such a thing existed. But apparently you can buy lubricant for your keyboard. No idea that this was a thing. No idea at all. But I bought some. And I also got a lube brush. Brush to apply the lube. So I'm hoping that will stop the space bar from sticking. In an ideal world, the whole world I was completely oblivious to, but now I know things. Every day's a learning day, or every day's a school day, as they often say. So, there. My stomach there. But yes, that's everything for the keyboard currently. So we can put those to one side. And the final thing I have for this video is a book which my friend got me for my birthday. It is a book about Augustus by Adrian Goldsworthy. As I say, I'm quite a huge fan of the Roman Empire, and when it comes to the Roman Empire, this is the guy. Obviously it says from revolutionary to emperor, which very, very humble opinion, and I don't wish to question the word of the illustrious Adrian Goldworthy, but that seems a bit of a sweeping statement, and a little bit sensationalist, if you will, and grab the reader, grab the headlines. So I will be reading this. Once I finish my other pile of books, which is, it just gets longer and longer. Every time I go in a Waterstones or a small independent bookshop, I prefer, supporting the small independents, but, beggars can't be choosers sometimes. If I'm in the area, I'll just nip in. They seem to come out with various different books, which it might be fun to read some of, on the channel. I have various different books for varying different ages, so we'll see. Have some nice sort of Egyptian or Greek ones that we could read, talking about their mythology and the foundings of their countries, all these very interesting things. I really like the colour, and obviously I love the bust of Augustus or Octavian. I think it's a cool looking book. I really do. I love. Again, I'm a simple man. If a book's a nice colour or it's got a cool front to it, I'm there. I'll buy it. So yeah, that's what I like. So maybe we could do a little bit of reading. So I don't know where my glasses are. So we're just gonna have to. You're gonna have to trust me. So I will start with the reviews at the top of the blurb on the back. It says a very fine story, very skillfully told, and that was from the literary review. Which, the literary review, they sound like they know what they're talking about. So that's praise indeed, I would imagine. And then from the New Statesman, they suggest it is authoritative, tricky word, and always interesting, always interesting. And then it goes on to say, Caesar Augustus schemed and fought his way to absolute power. He became Rome's first emperor and ruled for 44 years before dying peacefully in his bed. The system he created would endure for centuries. Yet, despite his exceptional success, he is a difficult man to pin down, and far less well known than his great uncle Julius Caesar. I think everybody knows Julius Caesar. Such a famous figure from history. His story is not always edifying. He murdered his opponents, exiled his daughter when she failed to conform, and freely made and broke alliances as he climbed ever higher. However, it's a civil war, Roman on Roman. And although, as the blurb alluded to, Caesar Augustus was no angel. He was a very canny thinker, a very canny man, wise to the world, and he very cleverly and brutally managed to remove anyone who would be a danger to him or would seek to undermine him. So the Roman political system, sometimes referred to as the cursus honorum, that is how that is what the list of almost, so in today's world in the UK we have MPs, and within the MPs we have the cabinet, and in the cabinet we have ministers, and those ministers are given jobs. So we have the Minister of Defence, the Prime Minister, Health Minister, there's loads of different ministers. Well, the Roman equivalent of that was called cursus honorum, and along the way, you would have aediles, you would have Pontifex Maximuses, you would, towards the top, you'd have your consuls, and in order to climb it, you either needed to be very well connected, brutal, or both. And Augustus was very much the master at climbing that. And some of it can be attributed to the right place at the right time. Especially when it came, not so much especially when it came to, but parts of that can be attributed to the story of the Civil War that Augustus won against Mark Antony. And as we know, Mark Antony was with Cleopatra at the time. In the Roman world, being Roman was the pinnacle. That's what you wanted to be. So you had Rome, Italy, and the provinces, and only Rome, people born in Rome, were Romans. They had full Roman citizenship, and that was what everybody wanted. People wanted to be a full citizen. So any auxiliaries, people from outside Rome, so people pulled from the provinces to fight for the Roman army, once they reached retirement, after a certain amount of years of service, they were given full Roman citizenship as a reward. So it goes to show sort of how coveted that was, really. But yes, Octavian was very canny with Mark Antony, because he picked up on the idea that people in Rome didn't really like the great Mark Antony, the great general of Rome, who, fought against Vercingetorix, however you want to pronounce it, with Caesar, was involved in Caesar's great campaign in Gaul. Didn't like the fact that he was becoming Eastern, didn't like the fact that he was no longer wearing traditional Roman armour and clothing, but he would rather be wearing traditional Egyptian clothing, spending more and more time with Cleopatra in Egypt than he was in Rome trying to govern. And Octavian was able to use that to his advantage, really, and almost sway Antony's supporters to Roman Senate. So that was just a little ramble about Augustus. I think he's a fascinating character. In fact, I think every Roman emperor was fascinating, and the Romans famously didn't like monarchy. They didn't like kings. In Latin, obviously, king translates as rex. R-E-X. Rex. But it could be suggested that Caesar and Augustus and everyone who sort of followed on from him was a king, a rex, in all but name. An argument could be made that it was a brutal dictatorship after brutal dictatorship after brutal dictatorship. But that would be a very, very long video, and I'm definitely not going into that tonight. So maybe if I read a page or two, just to round the video off, and we can maybe pick it up if people are interested in it. If people aren't interested, then we just won't pick it up. So I'm just going to do a random page. So Octavian also, he realised after the Civil War that people were out of work, people were poor, people were, the people were suffering. So he actually managed during his peaceful years, which there were quite a few actually once he was in power in the Civil War with Antony had been won. I think it was the Battle of Actium. The Battle of Actium. Once that had been won, he actually commissioned a lot of public building works. So aqueducts, baths, sanitation was improved, and it also managed that enabled him to have people employed, so the employment number came down. So I'm just going to pick this one here. So this is page 170 and 171. It's entitled Rivals. So there's a couple start with a quote from, this is a Deeds of the Divine Augustus. So Augustus also wrote his own memoirs, and that's called The Res Gestae. And if you're a geek like me and you haven't yet read it, I wholly suggest you pick it up because it's fascinating. So, wars, both civil and foreign, I undertook throughout the world, on sea and land, and when victorious, I spared all citizens who sued for pardon. So it's kind of Augustus writing about himself, which as a historian, someone who's doing a history degree, you gotta be very careful, because it might be a primary source. However, Augustus is not likely to paint himself in a bad light, is he? He's not likely to say, I battered the walls down and killed everyone I found inside. He's going to say things about himself that makes him look favourable. And now we're going to hear a quote from Suetonius. You may have heard of Suetonius. He was a Roman historian. He wrote some books and accounts, but he was not around. I do not believe he was around at the time of Augustus. I believe he was around and writing sort of the early 2nd century. So he will be taking his sources from those that were written at the time, records that were written down. So he would have to think about the sources, and you also have to think about the fact that he would have picked up stories that would have been passed down from people who probably were alive at the time. So let's hear from Suetonius now. Suetonius says, "At last he broke off his alliance with Mark Antony, which was always doubtful and uncertain, and with difficulty kept alive by various reconciliations, and better to show that his rival had fallen away from conduct becoming a citizen, he had the will which Antony had left in Rome, naming his children by Cleopatra among his heirs, opened and read before the people." So that kind of ties into what I was saying earlier on about how Augustus used Mark Antony's favour of Egypt against him. As it says, fallen away from the conduct of becoming a citizen. So, as a Roman citizen, Antony was expected to exemplify courage, strength in battle, hold himself in a certain way, act in a certain way, and the fact that he had named in his will Cleopatra's children as his heirs to essentially rule Rome did not go down very well. I have read in other books that this will may or may not have been written by Augustus and opened for effect because he knew what would happen if that was read aloud in public. He knew that people would shun Antony. So, what do you think? Do you think it was real? Or do you think that it was actually Antony's, do you think it was Augustus who made that well up, burned the original and said, "Hey guys, look what this naughty Antony's up to." It's political savviness, and that was what he was really known for. So, Caesar was given an opportunity for fresh heroism almost immediately, this time at the expense of an ally. The capture of Sicily had given Lepidus an important role for the first time in years. So, Lepidus was another high-ranking Roman, and when Julius Caesar had been assassinated, there were various bits and bobs that happened, but one of those things was that Lepidus, Antony, and Octavian emerged as the leading Romans, and it was known as the Triumvirate. The empire was split between the three of them, and different provinces in the empire were richer than others. Much like today in the UK, we have counties, or I know abroad sometimes they're called districts. Some were richer than others. The richest was, or the most sought after, was often Egypt, which is what Antony got. So Antony had the Eastern Empire. He held the East. Octavian took the West. He had the West, and Lepidus was given Africa. Lepidus was having absolutely none of it. He felt that he was being pushed out because the provinces in Africa were nowhere near as rich or as sought after as the east or the west. Also in the east and the west, there was the opportunity for further conquest, further glory for the leaders and their legions. However, Africa, essentially the Sahara below most of what was conquered already. So Lepidus was kind of left out on a limb. So that's the story of sort of who Lepidus was. So we'll carry on. Oh, I promise I hadn't read ahead. Understandably resentful at his marginalisation since Philippi, the oldest member of the triumvirate, now expect to regain some of his lost power. Bypassing Caesar's generals on the island, Lepidus arranged for the strongest Pompeian army to surrender to him and serve under his command, increasing his army to more than 20 legions. That's a prestigious total, even if many were greatly under strength. He let the former Pompeians join his own men, as they may have been less enthusiastic to share the spoils with recent enemies, but obeyed orders nonetheless. For the moment, Lepidus felt strong and was determined to add Sicily to his African provinces and retain control over his enlarged army. There were angry exchanges with Caesar and his local commanders as he asserted his right to command on the island, and his troops were drawn away to camp on their own. Legions were the ultimate base of power in these years, and a man with a strong and loyal army could not be ignored. Yet loyalty was often negotiable, and Caesar's agents were soon at work among the soldiers, just as they had once courted the 4th and Marcia at Brundisium in 43 BC. So that talks there about Lepidus arranging a surrender of a Pompeian army. So Pompey obviously was Pompey Magnus, Pompey the Great, and he was Caesar, Julius Caesar's great rival. So once Pompey had been defeated, oh, look at the light come back onto my face, I'm not blocking it. Another car. Hopefully that wasn't as bad as I think it was going to be. So Caesar defeated Pompey in the Civil War. And then what happened was there were still supporters of Pompey. So they were given names, the names escaped me. And I realised I was going to go this deep into some Roman history. I might have written some stuff down, but I didn't. So I haven't. So you'll have to make do with my ramblings, I'm afraid. Don't put this in any essays. So there were still supporters of Pompey, and they still had legions, they're still powerful people, they used to hold themselves up. So Lepidus wanted to add Sicily to his African territories. So he got an army that supported the Pompeian claim to surrender to him, so he could absorb those soldiers into his own. And as it said there, legions gave you power. So you think about Caesar when he crossed the Rubicon and headed south and took Rome, starting the Civil War. He could only do that because he had the backing of his legions. And the Praetorian Guard, and they were loyal, allegedly, to the Emperor. So what would tend to happen is, a new Emperor would come in, he would mint his coins with his name on it, and he would give it to the Praetorian Guard, and then he would give it to the army. So by printing a coin with his name and his face on it and his image, he would say to the soldiers and the Praetorian Guard, I'm paying you, I'm in charge, if you have any issues, you need to back me, I'm your man, I will sort this out. But obviously, the further down the line, so Nero, even Tiberius to a certain extent for Sejanus, there was always plots around the Praetorian Guard, plotting against the Emperor. We could go on and on and on. I don't want to get too deep into this. It's a bit heavy for, 12, whatever it is, 20 past, 11 at midnight, on the Saturday night. But yeah, basically, if you had a legion, if you had an army, if you had men, you had power, and you could exert your influence over whoever you wanted. Which obviously would have been a threat to your rivals. And I think I'm correct in saying, I might not be, but I think the Battle of Brundisium was in 43 BC. I think that was the climactic battle of the Roman Civil War, where Caesar defeated Pompey. I believe that was Brundisium. I might be wrong, but I think it was. And during that, there were soldiers would defect to either side because of generals or legionaries or sort of persuasive speakers would go around to the opposite camps and say, come and join us, we're better, we'll survive, we'll win, you won't, you'll die. So that's what I was talking about there, where people would kind of flip between the armies and try and encourage other defeated members to join their ranks so that they can bolster their own men, because it saves on training, it makes a lot of sense logistically as well. So I did not anticipate going on a Roman ramble tonight. On my right, you can't see on the camera, but maybe I'll take a picture and I'll stick it in the video so you can have a look at it at the end or whatever. But it's called usefulcharts.com. The guy he's got a YouTube channel here, so go check it out. Useful Charts. There's loads of cool stuff there, but one of them I've got is a timeline of the Roman Empire and the Roman emperors when they served, and the family trees and stuff like that. So I'll try and stick that in there for you so you can have a look at that at the end. But yeah, I think we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for this evening, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you managed to relax to it. I try and upload sort of more regularly, get into a bit of a schedule, because obviously with all doing all the DIY and stuff like that, I don't know when I'm going to have time to film. So if I try and do sort of, film 3 or 4 videos, and then I've got them in the kitty, as it were. And also, although it looks okay behind me, like the cupboard's not having any wardrobe doors isn't great, but you should see the floor. The state of the floor is unbelievable. So I also don't know what the background's going to look like. I don't want it to be absolute chaos in here. And I was saying, let me know about the lighting. I can try and sort that out. I appreciate the torches and iPad from the front wasn't great because obviously when I had the book in front of me or whatever, it just blocks all the light to my glorious face. The bangs under my eyes does anyway. But yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, if you've got any sort of requests, stick them down below and I'll see what I can do. Once again, as I didn't anticipate going on this Roman ramble, so some of the facts might be out because I'm kind of just doing it from memory from sort of sixth form, many moons ago, more moons than I care to remember. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I'll try to do my best. But I appreciate you guys subscribing and commenting. I do appreciate it. It's cool to chat with you and stuff. So yeah, if you want to see anything specific or you want me to talk about any kind of certain historical